guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm planning the week commencing the 12th of April and I'm using this mini kit from Plannerface, which is called Daisy. I'm pairing it with obviously this tape from Oopsadaisy and this tape from Happy Cutie Studio. I've got glitter headers and I've got these. I don't know if I'm even going to use any of these boxes. We shall see how it goes. I am going to go ahead and get started.
How tired do I sound? That is so funny. I had just woken up when I filmed, so excuse, my voice. While I do my plan today, I want to talk about something, and it is actually the topic of today's Know Better Do Better post. So if you are in UKPA Activism, you've already seen this post, soz. It's nothing new, nothing special. If you're not in there, you're welcome. Or you have to be a member of UKPA. But what I'm going to talk about today anyway is excusing racism. I want to say that this is not directed at anybody. It's not necessarily inspired by anyone, but it's certainly something that should be kept in mind given certain topics of conversation in the last week. So I'm just gonna go ahead and read what I've written. What do we mean by excusing racism? Almost all of us know what it means if somebody says that a person is from a different generation, particularly when it pertains to being challenged for their racism. You might also hear that somebody doesn't know any better, or that they're better at not being racist than they used to be, but sometimes they slip up. These are all examples of excusing racism, which means any action which allows a person to continue to be, or be forgiven for being, racist by making an excuse for racist behaviour. What is wrong with excusing racism? When you make an excuse for racism, particularly if you're a white person yourself, you're sending the direct message that you believe that there are some types of racism which are justifiable. In addition to this, when you make this excuse for a person's behaviour, particularly about a person who has died, thus introducing the idea that the person who's challenging racism should feel guilty or has crossed some sort of line, you stop the potential for learning and growth, ending important discussions about racism before they have a chance to begin. This is a form of tone policing, and racism will continue for as long as people continue to make excuses for people who have been racist. How can I hold people accountable without rocking the boat? It is important to remember that if you are not anti-racist, you support racism. Therefore, while it is understandable not to want to alienate family or say anything which upsets anybody, speaking up is the right thing to do. But speaking up is incredibly difficult, particularly when you are the lone voice against multiple people who are feeling defensive about being called out. Here's some ways to hold people accountable. Tell them that you don't support their viewpoint and explain why. Say, hey, this isn't okay. Here's what I read to help me understand why. Send them an infographic to help them educate themselves. Have conversations with people about race when it isn't relevant in the news, so that these conversations don't only happen in emotive situations. If someone makes a racist joke, ask them to explain why it's funny. Where can I find more information about being anti-racist? Consume content by Black authors and creators such as Ibram X. Kendi, Austin Channing Brown, Ijeoma Oluo, Reni Eddo-Lodge, Blair Imani, Moya Bailey, Faitth Brooks, and Cargle. So, I kind of sped through that because I'm really bad at reading things out loud. But I just think it's really important because we're all in a bit of a sitch at the moment where a lot of people are supporting some behaviour or excusing some behaviour that is not appropriate. And we know it's not appropriate, and we feel like we can't really participate because to support them would be false and not helpful. But you also don't want to upset anybody. And I get it. Like, I might seem like this argumentative person. I'm honestly not. I hate confrontation. And I myself have backed out of family arguments, or not family arguments, sorry. I've seen family members post things that if I'd seen a stranger post them, I'd have jumped straight in there. And it's purely because it is hard. And also, like, obviously it's hard to lose family members, and you potentially can lose family members. I also have no problem not speaking to certain family members again. So, and that is something that's happened in the past. But it can be scary because obviously you risk losing a support system, and also, like, say you're online, for example, and their friends list is likely to agree with them. So you come in and you challenge them, and suddenly all their friends start piling on. So I think the most important point there is to bring things up when they're not in the news. So talk about racism when it's not an emotional, like, when everyone's emotions aren't high. Just talk about it, because that's when you have the chance to, like, I'm saying like a lot, but that's when you have the chance to kind of, you find people at their most open state, and you say little things that are subtle, and they give them a chance to sink in, and that's when people are ready to hear you. Yeah, that's my advice. Obviously, first of all, I would never tell anyone how to behave, because obviously I'm against tone policing, so that's not going to help anyone. But I just feel like this is something that a lot of people are going through, and they don't necessarily know how to articulate. I want to stress again that this is not aimed at anyone, and it is not, like, it's not a direct response to anyone who has felt a certain way in the last week about a certain topic that I'm not going to bring up. But we all know what I'm talking about. Mostly because I don't want to say his name on my channel. But I just think it's really important, because this does happen again and again. We see times where predators, privileged people, people who've hurt people, then go on and die. And you do think, like, how should I feel about that? And how do I process and navigate this situation and express that I'm sad that someone died, while also saying that how they lived was not okay. So I don't know, it's something we're all going through. I wanted to talk about it. It is the topic of Know Better, Do Better as well. Leave comments if you've got sort of any better ideas, because I'm by no means an expert. And with that, I'm all done. See you later.
Okay, and there we have the finished look. This was actually, like, much quicker than I thought it would be, to the point that I'm suspicious that I've missed something out. But I think it's because I decided to try it out just blocking in time for home education rather than, like, writing down every single subject. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I think I quite like it. It reminds me of my old planning. Yeah, and I have got so much more of this kit left than I thought I would. I've got all the deco, I've got some flags and boxes, I've got some icons, and I've got pretty much all of this page. And then I did use the deluxe edition, so that's the deluxe add-on that's left. But yeah, and then I ended up using two girls. Does it look weird repeating them? Maybe. I've not quite woken up today, so I feel like I was making really silly mistakes. But yeah, hopefully this is alright. Yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye!